Figures just out this morning show that knife crime has hit a record high in England and Wales. Police recorded offences are up by 7% compared to the previous year. Well, joining me is the chair of the Police Federation of England and Wales, John Apter. Thank you for being with us. So we're just not getting on top of this knife crime.
No, it's an epidemic, and I've never shied away from the reality that my colleagues, those police officers out there, doing the best they can. They are fighting a tidal wave of violent crime, and it's really difficult to get on top of it, especially when you put into context the decade of cuts that policing has faced, trying to now change that direction, but it's going to take a long time. So sadly, it doesn't surprise me.
Do the police and other necessary authorities have the power and the resources to deal with this?
They have the powers, they don't have the resources. Certainly my colleagues don't, because there's competing demands. Because I know the crime figures have only just come out this morning. And there are some glimmers of hope in there. So burglary has gone down, but certainly violent crime, robberies, knife crime has increased. And that's what's really concerning the public. And it's concerning my members, police officers. So we have the powers. We certainly don't have the resources. And what we have now, slowly starting, is we have political support, which we've not had over recent years.
I mean, what are the powers that in your view, the view of the Federation, actually work to let's stick to knife crime for now?
I mean, knife crime, it's about, well, it's not a simple answer, but on the street, it's about stop and search, which I know is divisive. Stop and search works if it's done properly, if we work with communities to explain why we're dealing with knife crime. The powers of arrest and search and so on, we've got those powers, but it needs to be much broader. We have to work with the communities. We have to have school liaison. We have to have knife crime education. We have to work with the NHS. We haven't been doing that as effectively as we could or should have, because of the austerity that we faced.
Politicians often concentrate on sentencing. Do you think that really has much of an impact?
I believe it does. I've been a strong supporter of where persistent and violent offenders are brought to justice. Far too often, we see them get nothing more than a slap on the wrist. Now, I am a big supporter of rehabilitation of offenders. Absolutely, that's key. But there are some victims, many victims, who feel bitterly let down. My colleagues feel that justice is not being done for those victims. So people, I'm afraid to say, need to spend longer in prison.
The problem is, though, in many cases, you're dealing with teenagers or very young people.
Yeah.
What can be done for them?
Well, it's got to start very, very early. You know, I've been a police officer for 27 years. Way back then, I was working as part of my normal response shift. I was going into schools, I was meeting with families, I was talking to kids. It then got a lot more professional. We had school liaison officers, we had really good engagement, working with community teams. That then eroded over many years, and in many communities, the public saw the police as the enemy, and that needed to change. There's always going to be a rub, because the police are there to enforce the law, and we'll lock people up. But we have to work with the kids at a much younger age, and the community groups and the community leaders. It shouldn't be an us and them.
John Apter of the Police Federation, thank you very much indeed.